The night is quiet. The wind moves softly over wide fields that have not yet seen the first light of morning. Somewhere far away, an owl calls into the darkness. The sound rises gently and then fades again, leaving behind a silence that feels almost endless. Above the sleeping countryside, countless stars rest in a clear sky, shining with a calm patience that asks for nothing. There are no busy roads. No bright lamps. No distant engines. Only earth, sky, and the slow rhythm of a world that wakes with the sun and sleeps with the moon. Tonight, the path ahead is not hurried. There is nowhere important to reach before morning. Instead, we will simply walk together through another time, where each day unfolds slowly, almost like the turning of a page in a well-loved old book. Our journey leads to a small village in medieval Europe. It is not a famous place. No king has ever visited it. No great battle has been fought here. Travelers rarely stop long enough to remember its name. To most people beyond these fields, it hardly exists at all. And yet, for the people who live here, this tiny village is the center of the world. Everything they know lies within a few miles. The church bell. The winding stream. The old oak tree standing beside the road. The grain fields stretching toward the horizon. The small cottages built from timber, stone, and earth. Generations have lived here, worked here, and quietly disappeared into the soil beneath their feet. The story before us is not one of knights charging across battlefields or castles filled with glittering halls. Instead, it belongs to ordinary people. People whose names were almost never written down. People who spent their lives planting seeds, repairing fences, baking bread, caring for animals, and watching the seasons pass one after another. Among them lives a farmer. His life may seem simple at first glance. Yet within that simplicity lies a rhythm shaped by weather, faith, family, hard work, and patience. To understand medieval life, it is enough to spend one ordinary day beside him. The stars slowly begin to fade. A pale gray light appears along the eastern edge of the sky. It arrives so gradually that it is difficult to notice exactly when night becomes dawn. Mist settles low across the fields. Every blade of grass carries tiny drops of water that sparkle faintly as the first light grows stronger. The air feels cool against the skin. It smells of damp earth, fresh leaves, and wood smoke left over from yesterday's fires. Nothing moves quickly. Even the village seems reluctant to wake. One cottage stands near the edge of the fields. Its walls are made from wooden beams filled with woven branches and clay. The roof is thick with straw that has weathered many winters. Moss grows in small patches where rain has rested for years. The building leans ever so slightly to one side. No one worries about it. It has leaned that way for as long as anyone can remember. Inside, darkness still fills the room. The floor is packed earth, smooth from countless footsteps. A small fire rests beneath a layer of gray ash. Deep inside, a few glowing embers continue to breathe faintly, holding on to the warmth of yesterday. The room smells of smoke. Not unpleasantly. Simply constantly. Smoke has become part of the walls, the furniture, the clothing, even the hair of those who live here. Against one wall rests a wooden chest. Nearby stands a rough table marked by years of use. Simple stools wait quietly beneath it. Clay pots line a shelf. A bundle of dried herbs hangs from a beam overhead. Everything has its place. Nothing is wasted. In one corner, the family sleeps together beneath heavy wool blankets stuffed with straw and dried grasses. Sleep is light. There are no soft mattresses. No thick pillows. The body grows accustomed to simple comforts. The farmer opens his eyes before sunrise. No clock tells him the hour. He has never owned one. He does not need one. His body has learned the language of dawn over many years. He listens for a moment. Outside, the first birds have begun their morning songs. A rooster calls somewhere nearby. The wind brushes gently against the roof. Everything sounds familiar. Everything sounds exactly as it should. Slowly, he sits up. The room is cold. He pulls his simple wool tunic over his head. The cloth feels rough against his skin. His trousers are patched in several places. His leather shoes have been repaired more times than anyone remembers. Nothing is new. Nothing needs to be. Good clothing is expected to last many years. Beside him, his wife begins to stir. She wakes quietly, careful not to disturb the youngest child still sleeping peacefully beneath the blankets. Soon enough, everyone will be awake. But for these few moments, the cottage belongs only to the silence of early morning. The farmer kneels beside the hearth. He gently moves aside the ashes. A tiny orange glow answers him. Still alive. Still warm. He adds small pieces of dry wood. Then a handful of straw. Carefully, he blows across the embers. At first, nothing happens. Then comes the smallest thread of smoke. Another gentle breath. A tiny flame appears. Patiently, it grows. Within minutes, the fire has returned. Warm light fills the little room. Soft shadows begin dancing across wooden walls. The chill slowly retreats. His wife places an iron pot above the flames. Water begins warming. Soon, yesterday's barley porridge will become breakfast once again. There is no complaint about eating the same meal. Food is not expected to surprise anyone. Its purpose is simple: to give strength for another day. The children wake one by one. The oldest boy rubs his eyes. A younger girl stretches beneath the blankets. The smallest child still clings to sleep for a little while longer. No one rushes. Morning arrives at its own pace. Outside, daylight spreads gently across the fields. The village slowly comes alive. A wooden gate creaks open. Someone leads a cow toward pasture. Another neighbor carries 2 buckets toward the village well. A dog wanders lazily through the lane, stopping now and then to sniff the damp ground. Thin columns of smoke begin rising from cottage roofs. One after another. Like quiet signals that another ordinary day has begun. The farmer steps outside. Cool air greets him immediately. He pauses for just a moment. Not because he has extra time, but because mornings deserve a moment of stillness. He looks toward the fields. Mist still rests above them. The wheat moves gently beneath the breeze. Far beyond, the forest waits in silence. The same forest his father knew. The same forest his grandfather knew. Perhaps even older than memory itself. The land changes slowly here. That is one of its greatest comforts. Tomorrow will resemble today. Next season will resemble the last. Life is measured not by weeks but by harvests. Not by months but by winters survived. The farmer breathes deeply. The scent of wet soil fills his lungs. Rain fell lightly during the night. That is good. The crops needed water. Too much rain can ruin everything. Too little can do the same. A farmer spends much of his life watching the sky. Clouds become messages. Wind becomes advice. The shape of morning mist may carry hope or quiet concern. Nature speaks constantly. Those who work the land learn to listen. He walks toward the small wooden fence where his few animals wait. A cow lifts its head. 2 goats watch him calmly. A handful of chickens scratch eagerly through the earth, searching for insects hidden beneath fallen leaves. Each animal has value. Not simply as property, but as part of daily life. The cow gives milk. The chickens provide eggs. The goats offer milk, sometimes meat, and sturdy hides. Even their manure helps the fields grow another harvest. Nothing stands alone. Everything supports something else. The farmer gently pats the cow's neck. Its breath rises in little clouds against the cool morning air. He checks its health without thinking. Bright eyes. Steady breathing. Healthy coat. Years of experience allow him to notice small changes that others might never see. Nearby, his oldest son begins gathering eggs. Each egg is handled carefully. Even one broken egg means less food for the family. Small things matter here. Very small things. Breakfast is ready when they return inside. Steam rises from simple bowls. The barley porridge is thick and warm. Dark bread from yesterday rests beside it. There may be a little cheese. Perhaps a few onions. If fortune has been kind recently, there might even be a small piece of smoked fish saved from the market several days before. The meal is quiet. Conversation is gentle. Everyone knows the work waiting outside. There is no need for many words. The fire crackles softly. Morning light enters through the small window. Dust drifts lazily through narrow beams of sunlight. For a little while, the family simply eats together. And outside, the medieval world continues waking slowly beneath another peaceful dawn. The last spoonful of warm porridge disappears from the wooden bowls. No one lingers at the table for very long. The meal has been simple, but it has done its quiet work. It has warmed cold hands, settled empty stomachs, and prepared the family for another day beneath the open sky. The farmer's wife gathers the bowls without hurry. She wipes them with a piece of cloth and sets them neatly on the shelf. Every bowl has been shaped by hand. Each one carries small marks from years of use. Tiny scratches tell stories that no one speaks aloud. Nothing inside this cottage is perfect. Nothing needs to be. Outside, the morning has grown brighter. The pale mist is beginning to lift from the fields. Thin ribbons of sunlight stretch across the damp grass. Tiny drops of dew still cling to every leaf, sparkling for a few brief moments before disappearing into the warmth of the day. The farmer steps into the yard once more. He closes the wooden door gently behind him. The soft sound of chickens fills the air. They scratch among fallen straw, pecking at seeds too small for human hands to gather. A few sparrows flutter between the fence posts before rising into the branches of a nearby tree. The village is fully awake now. Smoke rises from nearly every chimney. Children carry small buckets. Women sweep doorways with bundles of twigs tied together. Old men walk slowly toward the church, speaking quietly with neighbors they have known all their lives. No one seems to be in a great hurry. There is work to be done, but there is also an understanding that the day is long. Rushing does not make the sun climb faster across the sky. The farmer reaches for his tools. They rest beneath a small wooden shelter beside the cottage. His hoe leans against the wall. The wooden handle has grown smooth where his hands have held it over many seasons. Nearby rests a spade with an iron blade that has been sharpened countless times. A wooden rake hangs from a peg. Each tool has earned its place. Each tool has required careful work from the village blacksmith and patient care from its owner. Iron is valuable. Nothing made from metal is treated carelessly. If a handle cracks, it is repaired. If a blade grows dull, it is sharpened. If something breaks completely, every useful piece is saved. Waste has little place in village life. The farmer lifts the hoe onto his shoulder. Its familiar weight feels almost comforting. His oldest son follows with the rake. Together they begin walking toward the open fields. The path is narrow. Soft earth presses beneath their boots. Wild flowers grow along the edges where wagons rarely pass. Bees move slowly from blossom to blossom. Their gentle buzzing becomes part of the quiet music of the morning. Other farmers are making the same journey. Some walk alone. Others travel beside brothers, sons, or neighbors. They greet one another with small nods and quiet words. There is friendship here, but also understanding. Everyone knows there will be time to speak later. For now, the fields are waiting. The land stretches wide before them. Long strips of cultivated earth reach toward the distant tree line. From above, they might seem like careful brush strokes painted across the countryside. Each family works certain strips of land. The fields are shared in ways that have existed for generations. No fences divide every piece. Instead, memory and tradition guide where one family's work ends and another's begins. The farmer pauses at the edge of his strip. He looks slowly across the rows. Young plants stand in neat lines. The recent rain has darkened the soil. That is encouraging. Healthy earth has its own appearance. It feels different beneath the hand. It smells rich and alive. He kneels quietly. Scooping up a small handful of soil, he lets it slip gently through his fingers. It is neither too wet nor too dry. Today will be a good day for working. Without another word, he begins. The hoe rises. Then falls. Again. And again. The rhythm comes naturally. It is not fast. It does not need to be. Each swing loosens the soil around the growing crops. Small weeds are lifted from the earth before they have time to steal precious water. The work demands patience more than strength. Hour after hour, the same steady motion continues. The farmer's breathing settles into the rhythm. Birds sing overhead. Clouds drift quietly across the wide blue sky. The world seems content to move at its own peaceful pace. His son works nearby. From time to time, the boy glances toward his father. Without many words, he learns. He notices how deeply the hoe should enter the soil. He watches how weeds are removed without harming the young plants. Knowledge passes gently from one generation to the next. Not through books. Not through long lessons. Simply by standing side by side beneath the same sun. Around them, other families work in much the same way. One woman bends carefully over rows of beans. An older man repairs a broken section of irrigation ditch with a wooden shovel. Two young girls gather loose stones from the field, placing them into baskets so the plow will pass more easily later. Every pair of hands has its purpose. Even small children help when they are able. No task is considered too small. A loose stone removed today may protect a plow tomorrow. A weed pulled this morning may help grain grow a little stronger next month. Tiny efforts quietly become larger blessings. The sun climbs higher. The coolness of dawn slowly disappears. Warmth settles across the fields. The scent of fresh earth rises into the air. Mixed with it comes the sweet smell of crushed grass and distant wild herbs growing beside the road. From somewhere beyond the hill comes the steady tapping of a woodpecker. Its sound echoes softly through the trees. Farther away, sheep graze beneath the watchful eyes of a shepherd. The flock moves almost like water flowing across the hillside. White wool catches the sunlight. A dog circles slowly around the animals, needing little instruction. It knows its work as surely as the shepherd knows his. The farmer straightens his back for a moment. His muscles ache gently. This is a familiar feeling. His body has known this kind of work since childhood. He drinks from a small leather water pouch. The water is cool. Simple things become deeply satisfying after hours of labor. Nearby, a breeze stirs the heads of young grain. They sway together in quiet waves. The farmer watches them for a moment. Healthy crops are never taken for granted. Too many things can change before harvest. A violent storm. An early frost. Too many insects. Too little rain. Illness. Fire. Every growing season carries both hope and uncertainty. Still, worrying cannot change tomorrow. Only today's work lies within his hands. So he returns to the soil. The hours continue passing gently. Shadows shorten beneath the bright sun. The village church bell rings once in the distance. Its sound drifts slowly across the fields. No one needs to see the church to recognize its voice. The bell marks the passing of time more faithfully than any clock. Its deep tone reminds everyone that the day is moving forward exactly as it should. Some workers pause briefly. A few bow their heads in quiet prayer. Others simply continue their work, comforted by the familiar sound. Faith is woven into everyday life here. Not always through grand ceremonies. Often through small moments. A whispered blessing before planting. A thankful glance toward the sky after rain. A silent hope carried in the heart while working alone. Near midday, the farmer and his son sit beneath the shade of an old oak tree standing beside the field. Its branches spread wide across the grass. The leaves rustle softly whenever the breeze passes through. The shade feels wonderfully cool. From a cloth bundle, they remove their midday meal. A piece of coarse bread. A small wedge of cheese. An onion. Perhaps a few dried apples saved from last autumn. Nothing more. Nothing less. They eat slowly. The bread is firm. The cheese is slightly salty. The onion is sharp and fresh. Simple food tastes rich after a morning of honest work. Around them, other families rest beneath trees or beside wagons. Quiet conversations drift through the warm air. Someone laughs softly. A child chases a butterfly across the grass. For a little while, the fields grow peaceful again. Even the tools seem grateful for their brief rest. The farmer leans back against the great oak. He looks upward through the branches. Tiny patches of blue sky appear between thousands of green leaves. A squirrel races along one branch before disappearing into the thick canopy. The tree has stood here longer than anyone alive can remember. It has watched countless harvests. Countless winters. Countless children grow into parents and grandparents. Perhaps one day his own grandchildren will rest beneath this same shade. The thought brings a quiet smile. Life moves slowly here. That is its gift. There is comfort in knowing that some things change only little from one generation to the next. The wind stirs again. The leaves whisper overhead. Soon, the short rest will end. The afternoon still holds many hours, and the patient work of the fields is far from finished. The shade beneath the old oak lingers for a little while longer. The farmer finishes the last bite of bread and brushes a few crumbs from his hands. They fall quietly onto the grass, where a small bird quickly hops forward to investigate. Nothing in the countryside is ever truly wasted. Even the smallest crumb may become a meal for another living creature. His son stretches his legs and looks across the fields. The afternoon sun has settled high above them now. Its light is bright, but gentle clouds drift across the sky from time to time, offering brief moments of cool shade. The farmer rises slowly. His knees feel stiff after sitting on the ground. That, too, is familiar. Every season leaves small reminders in the body. A sore shoulder after harvest. A tired back after plowing. Hands roughened by rope, wood, and soil. These are not unusual burdens. They are simply part of life. He lifts the hoe once more. The wooden handle feels warm now after resting in the sunlight. Nearby, other farmers are standing again as well. Across the wide fields, people quietly return to their work almost at the same moment, as though guided by the steady rhythm of the day itself. No one gives an order. No bell announces the end of the meal. The work simply calls them back. The afternoon often feels slower than the morning. The first excitement of beginning the day has long since faded. The body settles into a steady pace. Each movement becomes almost automatic. The farmer steps carefully between the rows of growing grain. He watches where he places each foot. Young plants are fragile. A careless step can undo weeks of patient growth. His eyes notice details without effort. A leaf slightly darker than the others. A patch of soil that has become too firm after the recent rain. Tiny insects moving beneath the stems. Years of experience have trained him to see what others might overlook. He kneels beside one small plant. Its leaves have been chewed along the edges. A caterpillar rests beneath them, nearly hidden from sight. The farmer gently removes it and carries it away toward the edge of the field. There is no anger. Only quiet understanding. The caterpillar must eat. The crops must also survive. Life is often balanced between such simple truths. The breeze grows a little stronger. It moves through the wheat like gentle waves across a quiet lake. The sound is soft. Almost like whispering. Many farmers say they can hear the land breathing when the wind passes through ripe grain. Whether that is true or not hardly matters. The sound has comforted generations. Far across the meadow, a horse pulls a wooden cart loaded with bundles of firewood. The wheels creak steadily over the uneven ground. The driver walks beside the horse instead of riding. The animal has already worked hard enough. Small kindnesses toward animals are common here. A healthy horse is too valuable to exhaust without reason. The farmer wipes his forehead with the sleeve of his tunic. Sweat has gathered beneath the afternoon sun. His clothes are simple. A loose wool tunic reaches almost to his knees. A leather belt circles his waist. From it hangs a small knife inside a worn leather sheath. The knife is used for everything. Cutting rope. Trimming branches. Preparing food. Repairing tools. It is one of the few possessions he carries almost every day. The cloth of his tunic has faded from years beneath the sun. His wife has patched the elbows many times. Each careful stitch has added another season to its life. Clothing is never thrown away because it has become old. Old cloth becomes patches. Small scraps become cleaning rags. Even worn pieces may later be twisted into cord. The afternoon moves quietly onward. Above, swallows dart through the sky. Their graceful flight seems effortless. They twist and turn while chasing tiny insects invisible to the human eye. Children often stop working for just a moment to watch them. The birds seem almost playful. One little girl laughs softly as a swallow swoops low across the field before climbing high again into the blue sky. Her mother smiles without pausing her work. Joy appears in small moments here. It does not require grand celebrations. A bird, a flower, a cool breeze, a child's laughter. These things are enough. As the sun begins its slow journey westward, the light changes almost without notice. The harsh brightness of midday softens. Longer shadows begin to stretch across the earth. The colors of the fields become warmer. Golden. Gentle. Peaceful. The farmer walks toward the edge of his land where a small wooden fence has begun to lean. One post has loosened after the spring rains. He sets down his hoe. From the nearby hedgerow he gathers a few sturdy branches. Using his knife, he trims them carefully. His son holds the fence steady while the farmer presses the new support into the ground. Together they tie everything tightly with twisted strips of willow. The repair is simple. It will last until winter. Perhaps longer if the weather is kind. Building and repairing are constant companions in village life. Something always needs attention. A roof loses a handful of straw. A gate begins to sag. A wheel develops a crack. Nothing remains perfect forever. Yet little by little, careful hands keep everything useful. Nearby, a group of women gather herbs growing wild beside a narrow stream. They know each plant by its leaves and scent. Some will flavor soup. Others may ease a cough during winter. A few are carefully dried and stored for treating wounds or fever. Their knowledge has passed quietly from mothers to daughters for many generations. Few of these lessons have ever been written. They live instead inside memory. The stream itself flows gently over smooth stones. Its clear water reflects the afternoon sky. Dragonflies skim across its surface with delicate wings that sparkle in the sunlight. Frogs hide among the reeds. Occasionally one leaps into the water with a tiny splash. The farmer kneels beside the stream. He washes the soil from his hands. The cool water feels refreshing. He drinks carefully from his cupped palms. The water tastes fresh and clean. Nearby, the village children have gathered smooth stones. They skip them across the quiet surface of the stream. Each stone dances once, twice, sometimes 3 or 4 times before sinking beneath the water. Their laughter carries gently across the meadow. Even the adults smile. Childhood has its place, even in a life filled with work. The farmer remembers doing the same many years ago. For just a moment, he sees himself not as the man he is now, but as the barefoot boy who once followed his own father through these very fields. The memory arrives quietly. His father had walked with the same steady pace. He had carried the same worn tools. He had paused beside this very stream after long afternoons beneath the sun. Much has changed since then. Yet much has remained exactly the same. The fields continue to grow. The stream continues to flow. The seasons continue their endless turning. Perhaps that is why the countryside feels so peaceful. Time moves forward. But it also circles gently back upon itself. As the afternoon begins to fade toward evening, the air grows cooler once more. The breeze carries the scent of distant pine trees from the forest beyond the hills. Somewhere deep among those woods, deer move quietly between the shadows. Foxes sleep beneath tangled roots, waiting for night. Birdsong begins to change. The cheerful calls of midday slowly give way to softer evening voices. The farmer gathers his tools. There is still work waiting tomorrow. There is always work waiting tomorrow. But for today, enough has been done. He looks once more across the fields. The young crops stand quietly beneath the lowering sun. They ask only for time. Time, rain, sunlight, and patient hands. He offers them one final glance before turning toward the village. The narrow path home feels familiar beneath his feet. His son walks beside him carrying the rake across one shoulder. Behind them, the fields grow still again. Only the wind continues moving through the grain, whispering softly as another peaceful day slowly begins its journey toward evening. The walk back to the village is never hurried. The farmer and his son follow the narrow dirt path that winds gently between the fields. Their boots leave faint prints in the soft earth, prints that may still be there tomorrow morning if the night remains dry. Along the edges of the path, wild grasses sway quietly in the evening breeze. The sun has begun its slow descent. Its light is softer now than it was only an hour before. The bright white of midday has become a warm golden glow that settles over the countryside like a gentle blanket. Every familiar place seems a little different in this evening light. The wheat shines like polished gold. The leaves of the oak trees appear deeper green. Even the small stream reflects the sky in shades of pale blue and amber. The farmer notices these things without stopping to think about them. He has seen thousands of evenings. Yet each one carries its own quiet beauty. A pair of rabbits dart across the path ahead. For just a moment they pause, their long ears standing perfectly still. Then, with quick little jumps, they disappear into the tall grass. His son watches them until they are gone. Neither of them speaks. The silence between them is comfortable. Not every journey needs conversation. Sometimes walking beside someone is enough. As they draw closer to the village, more people appear along the road. An elderly woman carries a basket filled with freshly gathered herbs. Their gentle scent drifts into the cool air. Mint. Thyme. A little sage. She smiles as the farmer passes. He returns the smile with a quiet nod. They have known each other for many years. There is no need for long greetings. Nearby, two boys guide a small flock of geese toward a fenced enclosure. The geese complain loudly, flapping their wings and stretching their necks as though they disagree with the idea of ending the day. The boys laugh softly but remain patient. They have learned that shouting only makes the birds more stubborn. Slowly, one careful step at a time, the flock settles into its pen. The village itself is small. Only a handful of cottages stand along the winding lane. Each roof is covered with thick straw that has turned pale from years beneath the sun. Smoke rises lazily from nearly every chimney. The smell of burning oak and ash drifts through the evening air. It is a comforting smell. It means families are lighting their hearts. It means supper is beginning. It means another day has been completed. The farmer reaches his own cottage. Before stepping inside, he places his tools beneath the shelter where they will stay dry during the night. He runs his hand along the handle of the hoe. Tomorrow morning he will use it again. The work never truly ends. It simply pauses until another sunrise. Inside the cottage, the fire burns brightly once more. The room feels warm after the cool evening air. Orange light flickers across the timber walls, making gentle shadows dance overhead. His wife is busy preparing the evening meal. A black iron pot hangs above the fire. A slow stew simmers quietly inside. The scent fills the room. Barley. Onions. Leeks. A few carrots. Perhaps a little cabbage from the garden. The aroma is simple but rich. The vegetables have cooked together for many hours, blending into something warm and comforting. On a small wooden board rests a loaf of dark rye bread. Its crust is firm. Its inside is dense and filling. Bread like this is made to satisfy hunger after long hours of work. The youngest child sits near the hearth. He carefully stacks smooth wooden blocks into a tiny tower. The blocks have no bright colors. No painted pictures. Only plain wood shaped by a patient hand. Yet to him they are castles, bridges, and tall towers reaching into the sky. Children have always found ways to imagine wonderful worlds. His older sister helps her mother stir the pot. She is learning little by little. One day she may have a family of her own. The knowledge passes quietly through everyday moments like these. No formal lesson is needed. Only watching. Helping. Trying. The farmer removes his boots near the door. A little dry soil falls onto the floor. Tomorrow more soil will replace it. Life on a farm always finds its way indoors. His wife smiles as he enters. She notices the tiredness in his face. He notices the flour on her hands. Neither says much. They understand one another well after many years together. Outside, the last chickens settle onto their wooden perch. The cow rests peacefully inside its shelter. The goats chew slowly, content after a day of grazing. Even the village dogs have become quieter now. Only an occasional bark drifts through the evening air before fading into silence again. The family gathers around the table. The wooden bowls are filled one by one. Steam rises gently into the room. Everyone waits until the food has been served before beginning to eat. The farmer bows his head. His family follows. The prayer is short. Simple words of thanks for the day's work, the food before them, and another peaceful evening. Then the meal begins. Wooden spoons move quietly through the thick stew. The warmth spreads through tired bodies. No one eats quickly. The day no longer asks for speed. The youngest child speaks about finding a bright blue feather near the stream. His sister says she saw 3 butterflies dancing over the flowers. The farmer's wife tells them that one of the hens may soon begin laying more eggs. The farmer listens while slowly finishing his meal. Sometimes he adds a few words. Sometimes he simply smiles. Small conversations like these are enough. Outside, the sky grows deeper with every passing moment. The bright blue fades into soft shades of violet. The first evening star appears above the distant trees. Then another. And another. The seasons teach people to notice such things. Without clocks or bright lamps, the sky becomes an old and trusted companion. After supper, the bowls are washed with warm water. Nothing is left sitting until morning. The fire continues burning gently. Its quiet crackling fills the cottage with a peaceful rhythm. The farmer takes a small wooden stool and carries it outside. He sits beside the doorway. The evening air feels cool against his face. The hard work of the day is behind him now. There is nothing more that must be done before sleep. This is one of his favorite moments. The village has become wonderfully quiet. From somewhere nearby comes the slow chirping of crickets hidden among the grass. A cow shifts gently inside its shelter. The leaves of the old oak tree rustle softly whenever the breeze passes through. The church bell rings once. Its deep voice travels across the valley before disappearing into the gathering night. The farmer looks toward the fields. From here they appear almost silver beneath the fading light. Tomorrow they will need him again. The weeds will continue growing. The soil will continue drying beneath the sun. The crops will continue reaching upward. The work is never finished. Yet somehow, that thought brings comfort rather than worry. There is peace in knowing that tomorrow has a purpose. He remembers something his own father once said while they walked home after harvest many years ago. The land teaches patience to anyone willing to listen. As a young boy, he had not fully understood those words. Now he does. The fields cannot be hurried. Seeds grow in their own time. Rain falls when it chooses. Winter leaves only when spring is ready. The land asks for steady hands, quiet hope, and the willingness to begin again each morning. The farmer closes his eyes for just a moment. The breeze carries the scent of fresh hay from a nearby meadow. It mixes with the smell of wood smoke drifting from the cottages. Together they create the familiar fragrance of home. Around him, the village slowly settles into sleep. One window grows dark. Then another. Children climb beneath wool blankets. Doors close softly. Voices fade. The stars brighten overhead until the whole sky seems filled with gentle light. The same stars watched over his grandparents. The same stars will watch over generations still to come. The world feels vast above him. Yet the little village beneath that endless sky feels complete. He takes one last slow breath of the cool evening air before standing and quietly stepping back inside the cottage. Behind him, the peaceful night continues to unfold, one quiet moment at a time. The wooden door closes with a soft, familiar sound. Inside the cottage, the warmth of the hearth gently welcomes the farmer back. The fire has settled into glowing red embers beneath a few steady flames. Their light is softer now than it was during supper, filling the room with a calm orange glow that reaches into every corner. The children have begun preparing for sleep. The youngest boy rubs his eyes with both hands, trying to stay awake just a little longer. His older sister folds the wool blankets carefully, shaking away a few pieces of straw that have clung to them during the day. Their mother checks the fire one last time. She places another small log onto the embers, not enough to keep the flames burning brightly all night, but enough to leave warm coals waiting for the morning. Starting a new fire from cold ashes is difficult. Keeping a few glowing embers alive through the night is far easier. It is a habit learned over many generations. A little care before sleep makes tomorrow's work easier. The farmer sits quietly on a wooden bench. His hands rest on his knees. He turns them slowly, looking at the deep lines that cover his palms. The skin is rough. Small scars cross his fingers. His fingernails carry traces of dark soil that even careful washing cannot completely remove. These hands have planted grain, built fences, carried stones, lifted children, mended roofs. They tell the story of his life more honestly than words ever could. His wife notices him studying them. She smiles gently. She has hands much the same. Her fingers are rough from kneading bread, spinning wool, carrying water, gathering herbs, and tending the garden beside the cottage. Life has shaped both of them quietly, season after season. Outside, darkness settles fully across the village. The moon rises above the eastern trees. Tonight it is nearly full. Its pale silver light spills across the rooftops and fields, making the world seem peaceful and still. Only the soft glow from a few cottage windows remains. Soon even those lights will disappear. The farmer's oldest son steps outside carrying a small wooden bucket. There is one last task before bed. He walks to the well near the center of the village. The path is easy to follow beneath the moonlight. Other villagers are there as well. An elderly man fills a bucket for tomorrow morning. A young woman draws water while humming a quiet tune that almost disappears into the night air. The stone well has stood in this place for longer than anyone remembers. Its smooth edge has been worn by countless hands and ropes. Children have played beside it. Neighbors have shared news there. Travelers have paused to drink before continuing their journeys. It is more than a source of water. It is part of the village itself. The boy lowers the bucket slowly. The rope slides over the wooden beam with a gentle creak. A moment later comes the soft splash as the bucket reaches the water below. He pulls steadily. The bucket grows heavier with every turn. At last it reaches the top, shining faintly beneath the moon. He carries it carefully home, trying not to spill a single drop. Water is precious. Every journey to the well reminds people of its value. Back at the cottage, the bucket is placed beside the door. It will be waiting when morning comes. The family finishes their final chores. A wooden spoon is returned to its shelf. A folded cloth is hung beside the hearth. The last pieces of bread are wrapped inside linen to keep them fresh through the night. Nothing is forgotten. Small habits make daily life smoother. The farmer steps outside once more. Not because work remains. Only because he enjoys the quiet. The night feels wonderfully still. The air has cooled enough that he can see the faintest trace of his breath. Above him, the stars seem even brighter than before. Without lamps or cities to soften their light, the heavens stretch endlessly across the sky. Some stars appear white. Others seem touched with pale blue or soft gold. They shimmer gently as though breathing with the night itself. The farmer has never studied the stars. He cannot name many of them. Yet he knows where certain groups appear during different seasons. He knows which stars rise before harvest. He knows which constellations stand high during the long winter nights. The sky has become another quiet calendar. The sound of crickets fills the fields. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls again. Its voice drifts through the darkness before fading into silence. From the nearby woods comes the faint rustle of unseen animals beginning their nightly search for food. Foxes. Hedgehogs. Small mice moving beneath fallen leaves. Night belongs to different creatures than the day. The farmer stands beside the fence where his cow rests. The animal lifts its head slowly. Its large eyes reflect the moonlight. He strokes its neck gently. The cow lets out a slow, peaceful breath before lowering its head once again. The simple moment brings quiet satisfaction. The animals are safe. The family is fed. The fields are growing. For tonight, that is enough. Far beyond the village, a faint layer of mist begins forming over the lowest meadows. Moonlight settles upon it like silver cloth. The distant trees appear almost dreamlike, their dark shapes standing silently against the bright sky. The countryside has a different kind of beauty at night. The busy work of the day disappears. Only quiet remains. The farmer remembers being a little boy, standing beside his father beneath this same sky. He had asked whether the stars ever grew tired. His father had smiled before answering. They rest during the day, hidden behind the light. The young boy had believed him completely. Even now, the memory makes the farmer smile. Parents often answer children's questions with gentle stories. Those stories become treasured memories long after childhood has passed. He returns inside. The cottage is nearly dark now. Only the fire offers a soft glow. His wife has already tucked the youngest child beneath the blankets. The little boy is asleep almost instantly. His breathing is slow and peaceful. His sister curls beside him, already drifting toward dreams. The oldest son quietly removes his boots before lying down near the wall. Tomorrow he will rise early again. Each day teaches him a little more about becoming a farmer. The farmer carefully checks the wooden latch on the door. Not because he fears danger. Simply because it is what he has always done before sleep. Habit brings comfort. He kneels briefly beside the hearth. The small flames flicker gently. He whispers a final prayer. Not for wealth. Not for greatness. Only for another good harvest. Healthy children. Kind weather. and the strength to greet tomorrow with willing hands. He stands once more. The cottage grows silent. The fire settles lower. Outside, the wind brushes softly against the straw roof. The sound is almost like distant waves upon a quiet shore. The farmer lies down beside his family. The wool blanket feels heavy and warm. The scent of smoke lingers gently in the room. It has become the scent of home. His tired muscles slowly begin to relax. The long hours spent in the fields have left pleasant exhaustion behind. Tomorrow will bring another sunrise. Another walk across the dew-covered fields. Another day shaped by earth, weather, patience, and hope. But tomorrow can wait. Tonight, the village sleeps beneath the watchful stars. The old oak stands quietly beside the road. The stream continues its gentle journey through the meadow. The fields rest beneath the silver moonlight. And within the little cottage, beside the softly glowing embers, the farmer closes his eyes as another peaceful medieval day comes quietly to its end. For a little while, the village belongs entirely to the night. The fire inside the cottage has settled into a bed of glowing coals. From time to time, a tiny spark rises into the darkness before quietly disappearing. The room is filled with the slow, steady breathing of a family at rest. Outside, the moon climbs higher. Its pale light stretches across the fields, turning every blade of grass into a thin line of silver. The narrow footpaths that seemed dusty during the afternoon now glow softly beneath the night sky. The world feels slower after midnight. Even the wind seems to move with greater care. An owl glides silently over the meadow. Its wings make almost no sound as it passes above the wheat. For a few moments, it circles the edge of the forest before disappearing among the ancient trees. Deep inside those woods, life continues while the village sleeps. A fox slips quietly through the undergrowth, its nose close to the ground as it follows the faint scent of a rabbit. A family of hedgehogs rustles through fallen leaves, searching patiently for insects. High above them, branches sway gently against the sky. The forest never truly sleeps. It simply changes its rhythm. Back in the village, the church stands quietly on a small rise of land. Its stone walls have absorbed the warmth of the day and now slowly release it into the cool night air. The wooden door remains closed. The bell hangs silent in the tower, waiting for another dawn. Generations have walked through that doorway. Children have been welcomed there. Couples have stood before the altar to begin their lives together. Old friends have gathered to say farewell to those whose long days of work had finally come to an end. The little church has witnessed nearly every important moment in the lives of the villagers. Tonight, however, it simply watches over them in silence. The moon slowly begins its journey toward the western sky. Time passes gently. No one measures these quiet hours with clocks. The night is measured by the movement of the stars, by the cooling air, and by the growing chorus of insects hidden among the grasses. Inside the farmer's cottage, the youngest child stirs in his sleep. He turns over beneath the heavy blanket and sighs softly before settling once more. His mother opens her eyes for only a moment. Without fully waking, she gently adjusts the blanket around him. Then she closes her eyes again. Years of caring for children have made even her sleep attentive. Beside the cottage, the cow shifts its weight inside the shelter. A soft sound escapes its nose before it settles once again onto the dry straw. The chickens remain perfectly still, their feathers puffed against the cool air. Only the barn cat is awake. It slips through the shadows with quiet confidence, pausing now and then to listen. A mouse rustles somewhere beneath the wooden floorboards. The cat waits patiently. Patience is often rewarded. Above the rooftops, Thin clouds drift slowly across the stars. For a few minutes, the moon disappears behind them. The countryside grows darker. Then, just as quietly, the clouds continue on their journey, and the moonlight returns. The seasons shape every night differently. In winter, darkness lasts much longer. The nights become cold enough for frost to cover the fields before morning. The farmer often wakes to find delicate patterns of ice stretching across the ground like tiny crystals. In summer, however, the night is gentle. The air remains mild. The scent of flowers lingers long after sunset. This evening belongs to late spring. The earth is warm from the growing season. Wildflowers bloom beside every path. The orchards beyond the village are filled with young green fruit that will not be ready for many weeks. Nature is patient. Nothing ripens before its proper time. Hours continue to pass. Little by little, the eastern horizon begins to change. At first, the difference is almost impossible to notice. The black sky softens into the deepest shade of blue. The stars nearest the horizon begin to fade. The farmer remains asleep. But his body has already begun preparing for another day. Years of rising before sunrise have quietly shaped his inner rhythm. No bell will wake him. No voice will call his name. Morning itself will be enough. A single bird begins to sing. Its song is clear and gentle. For a few moments, it is the only sound in the world. Then another bird answers from a nearby tree. Soon a third joins them. Little by little, the silence of night gives way to the peaceful music of dawn. The mist returns to the fields. It settles low across the meadows, wrapping the earth in a soft white blanket. The tops of the wheat rise above it like tiny islands. The old oak tree stands quietly in the middle of the mist, its broad branches reaching into the brightening sky. A cool breeze carries the scent of damp soil and fresh grass. Somewhere, a rooster clears its throat before giving a loud, confident crow. Another answers from farther away. The village begins to wake. Inside the cottage, the farmer opens his eyes. For a moment, he lies perfectly still. He listens. The birds. The rooster. The faint crackle of dying embers. Everything sounds exactly as it should. He sits up slowly. The room is cool again. The fire has almost gone out, but deep beneath the gray ashes a few tiny coals still glow. Just enough. He smiles faintly. His wife had judged the fire well the night before. He kneels beside the hearth. Carefully, he brushes away the ashes. A soft orange light appears beneath them. Still alive. Still waiting. He places a handful of dry straw over the glowing coals. Then a few small twigs. He leans forward and blows gently. A thin ribbon of smoke rises. Another careful breath. A tiny flame appears. It flickers uncertainly for only a moment before growing stronger. Soon the familiar warmth begins spreading through the cottage once again. Morning has returned. His wife wakes quietly beside him. Without speaking, she reaches for the iron pot. Fresh water from the bucket collected the night before is poured inside. Soon it will warm above the fire. The children continue sleeping for a little while longer. These few peaceful moments belong to the adults alone. The farmer steps outside. The cool morning air greets him like an old friend. The grass is wet with dew. Each step darkens his boots. He breathes deeply. The scent of earth after a cool night is fresh and clean. He looks toward the eastern sky. The first golden light of sunrise is beginning to spread across the horizon. Clouds glow softly with shades of pink and pale orange. The fields shimmer beneath the morning mist. Everything feels new again. Yet everything is wonderfully familiar. Another ordinary day has quietly arrived. Not a day that will be remembered in great books. Not a day that kings will ever hear about. Simply another peaceful day in the life of a medieval farmer. And for him, that is more than enough. The first rays of sunlight spread gently across the village. They do not arrive all at once. Instead, they move slowly over the hills, touching the tops of the trees before reaching the fields below. The straw roofs of the cottages begin to glow with a soft golden color. Dew resting on the grass sparkles for a few precious moments, like tiny pieces of glass scattered across the earth. The farmer stands quietly outside his cottage. For a little while, he does nothing at all. He simply watches the morning unfold. The air is cool enough to make each breath feel fresh. A gentle breeze carries the scent of damp soil mixed with the sweet fragrance of blooming hawthorn growing along the village paths. Nearby, a robin lands on the wooden fence. It tilts its head from side to side, watching the farmer with bright, curious eyes. For a moment, neither one moves. Then the little bird flutters away toward the orchard beyond the cottages. The farmer smiles faintly. Small moments like these often pass unnoticed by hurried people. But there is very little hurry here. Life has its own steady rhythm. He walks toward the animal shelter. The wooden gate creaks softly as he opens it. The cow is already awake, patiently chewing the last of yesterday's hay. Its calm eyes follow him as he enters. He places one hand gently against its neck. The animal's warm breath rises into the cool morning air. It trusts the familiar hands that care for it every day. The farmer reaches for a small wooden stool. He sets a clean bucket beside him. Then he begins to milk the cow. The sound is quiet and steady. Milk strikes the inside of the bucket with a soft rhythm. The warm, fresh milk slowly gathers at the bottom. Steam rises gently from it in the cool morning air. This work cannot be rushed. The cow must remain calm. The farmer's movements are slow and practiced. His father had taught him the same careful rhythm many years before. Now it feels as natural as breathing. When the bucket is nearly full, he carries it carefully back toward the cottage. His wife greets him with another quiet smile. Fresh milk is always welcome. Some will be used today. Some may become butter. Some may be turned into cheese that can be stored for many weeks. Nothing will be wasted. The oldest daughter is already grinding grain. She sits beside a small hand mill made from two heavy stones. Slowly, patiently, she turns the wooden handle. The upper stone rotates over the lower one. Little by little, barley falls between them and becomes coarse flour. It is hard work. Her arms grow tired. Yet she continues without complaint. This is simply one of the many small tasks that help feed the family. Her younger brother watches for a few moments. He knows that before long, he too will be expected to help with work that requires strong hands and steady patience. Childhood in the village is gentle, but it is never idle. Children learn by joining the daily rhythm of family life. The farmer carries two empty buckets toward the well. The morning is still young, and many neighbors are already there. An old man lowers his bucket carefully into the cool water below. A young mother balances a sleeping baby on one arm while waiting her turn. Two little girls whisper together, trying not to laugh too loudly in the quiet morning. The well is more than a place to collect water. It is where the village slowly wakes together. The farmer greets his neighbors with simple words. Good morning. May the day be kind. How did the rain treat your fields? The conversations are never long. There is work waiting for everyone. Still, these small exchanges strengthen the quiet friendship shared among people who depend upon one another. One farmer mentions seeing fresh deer tracks near the edge of the forest. Another says the stream is flowing a little higher after the recent rain. An elderly woman smiles as she tells everyone that the swallows have built another nest beneath her roof. Each piece of news is small, yet each one matters. Village life is woven together from ordinary moments. The farmer fills his buckets. The water is cold and perfectly clear. Looking into the well, he sees his own reflection shimmering gently beneath the surface. The face looking back at him is weathered by sun and wind. Fine lines surround his eyes. His beard carries a few strands of gray. Time has worked quietly upon him. He does not mind. The seasons have shaped him just as they have shaped the trees, the fields, and the hills around him. He lifts the heavy buckets and begins the short walk home. The weight pulls gently against his shoulders. He walks carefully to keep the water from spilling. A single drop is worth saving. As he passes through the village lane, he notices smoke rising from nearly every chimney. Breakfast is being prepared throughout the village. The smell of baking bread drifts through the air. Somewhere, onions sizzle gently in an iron pot. Farther away comes the pleasant scent of fresh herbs warming beside a cooking fire. These familiar smells fill the village every morning. Together they create a feeling of home that cannot easily be described. Back at the cottage, the children have finished making the morning meal. Fresh milk is poured into wooden cups. The barley bread has been sliced. A little honey, carefully saved from last year's beehives, is spread thinly across one piece. Honey is a rare treat. Only a small amount is used. Its sweetness makes the ordinary breakfast feel almost like a celebration. The family gathers around the table once more. Morning light streams through the tiny window. Dust floats lazily in the golden beams. Outside, bees hum among the flowers planted beside the doorway. The farmer eats slowly. Today's work has not yet begun, but he is already thinking about the tasks ahead. One section of fence needs another repair. The bean plants should be checked for insects. The small vegetable garden behind the cottage will need watering if the afternoon grows warm. There is always something waiting. Yet the list never feels overwhelming. Each task is simply completed when its time arrives. The youngest child asks if they may visit the stream after the day's work. His mother smiles. If the weather stays fair. The little boy nods happily. For him, the stream is a place of endless wonder. Tiny fish. Smooth stones. Dragonflies with shining wings. Every visit feels like a new adventure. The farmer watches his children for a moment. Their faces are still round with youth. Their hands are growing stronger each season. He hopes they will know many peaceful years upon this land. No parent can control the future. But every parent quietly hopes. Breakfast comes to an end. Wooden bowls are stacked neatly. The table is wiped clean. The fire is stirred once again. Outside, the sun has climbed higher into the bright blue sky. The coolness of dawn is slowly giving way to the gentle warmth of another spring morning. The farmer reaches for his well-worn hat, hanging beside the door. It is made from woven straw, simple but useful against the afternoon sun. He lifts his hoe from its place beneath the shelter. The smooth wooden handle fits perfectly into his hands. Beside him, his oldest son picks up the rake. His daughter gathers a small basket for vegetables. Together, without hurry and without complaint, the family steps onto the narrow path leading toward the fields once again. The village slowly fades behind them. Ahead lies another quiet day of patient work, beneath the wide open sky that has watched over countless generations before them. The narrow path winds gently through the countryside, just as it has for many generations. The farmer walks at an easy pace, his hoe resting across one shoulder. His oldest son follows beside him, while his daughter carries the small woven basket with both hands. The youngest child skips a few steps ahead, stopping now and then to look at something that catches his eye. Morning is still fresh. The sunlight has become brighter, but the air remains cool enough to feel pleasant. Dew still clings to the shaded grass beneath the hedgerows, though the open fields have already begun to dry. A skylark rises from the meadow. At first it seems almost invisible against the bright sky. Then its cheerful song floats down from high above. The little bird climbs higher and higher until it becomes only a tiny dark speck surrounded by endless blue. The farmer pauses for a moment. He listens. The song fills the quiet countryside. His father had once told him that a skylark's voice always made the fields feel alive. Now, many years later, he understands exactly what those words meant. They continue walking. The village slowly disappears behind a gentle hill, leaving only the church tower visible above the trees. Even from this distance, it feels comforting to know it is there. The land opens before them. Long strips of grain stretch across the rolling fields. Small vegetable gardens rest beside narrow cottages scattered here and there. Beyond them, the forest forms a deep green line along the horizon. Clouds drift slowly overhead. They cast wide patches of moving shade across the wheat. The changing light gives the fields the appearance of flowing water. Nothing remains exactly the same for very long. Even the sunlight is always quietly changing. The farmer reaches the edge of his vegetable garden. It is not large. Only a modest piece of land beside the main field. Yet it provides much of the family's daily food. Rows of onions stand with their green leaves reaching upward. Carrots hide beneath soft, feathery tops. Cabbages spread their broad leaves close to the ground. Peas climb carefully along simple wooden supports made from slender branches. Everything grows patiently. Everything asks only for steady care. The farmer kneels beside the onions. He presses one finger gently into the soil. Still damp. There is no need for watering yet. The rain from 2 nights ago has done its work well. He smiles quietly. Rain often saves many hours of labor. Nearby, his daughter begins gathering a few early herbs. She knows exactly which leaves to pick. Only the healthiest. Only what the family needs today. Her mother has taught her never to take more than necessary. The garden should continue giving throughout the season. Care today brings abundance tomorrow. The youngest boy kneels beside a patch of flowers planted near the vegetables. Bright yellow marigolds bloom among them. Tiny white daisies nod gently in the breeze. The flowers are beautiful, but they also serve another purpose. They help attract bees. Without bees, many plants would struggle to grow. The farmer watches several bees moving busily from flower to flower. Each one carries tiny grains of golden pollen upon its legs. Their work is quiet. Yet without it, the harvest would be very different. Nature often depends upon the smallest creatures. A large butterfly floats lazily through the garden. Its wings are orange with black markings. The youngest child follows it with wide eyes until it disappears beyond a fence. Every morning seems to offer something new to discover. The farmer's son walks toward the bean plants. He notices a few leaves with small holes. Carefully, he looks beneath them. There, hiding in the shade, are several tiny beetles. He remembers what his father showed him many times before. One by one, he gently removes the insects. It is slow work. Patient work. But it protects the growing plants. The farmer watches without speaking. His son no longer needs constant instruction. Experience is becoming his teacher now. The sun continues climbing. The morning breeze carries the sweet smell of apple blossoms from a nearby orchard. The trees are covered with pale pink and white flowers. Their branches hum softly with hundreds of busy bees. In a few months, these blossoms will become fruit. But today they are simply flowers opening themselves to the warm spring air. A neighbor appears along the path. He pulls a small wooden cart behind him. Inside are bundles of freshly cut willow branches. "Good morning," he says with a warm smile. The farmer returns the greeting. The two men stop for a moment. Not to discuss great events. Only ordinary things. The condition of the wheat. The strength of the recent rain. A calf born during the previous week. A broken wagon wheel that the blacksmith repaired yesterday. These conversations may seem small. Yet together they weave the quiet fabric of village life. Before long, both men continue on their separate ways. There is comfort in these familiar meetings. No one keeps score of kindness. Neighbors simply help one another because one day they themselves may need help. The farmer moves toward a section of the garden fence. One rail has begun to loosen. The winter rain softened the ground around its post. He gathers a wooden mallet and taps the post gently back into place. Not too hard. Wood can split if struck carelessly. His son holds the rail steady while the farmer secures it with a strip of twisted hazel. Within a few minutes, the fence is firm again. It is not beautiful. It is not perfectly straight. But it is strong. Strength matters more than appearance. Nearby, a pair of doves lands upon the fence. They sit quietly beside one another, their feathers glowing softly in the sunlight. After a few peaceful moments, they fly away together toward the orchard. The farmer watches them disappear. The countryside is full of such simple moments. Many pass unnoticed. Yet each one quietly adds to the peace of the day. By now, the warmth of the morning has settled over the land. The children remove their wool cloaks and fold them neatly beneath the shade of a nearby tree. The breeze remains gentle. The sky is almost perfectly clear. Only a handful of white clouds drift lazily overhead. From somewhere beyond the hill comes the steady knocking of the village blacksmith. The sound is faint. Metal striking metal. Again. And again. Each careful blow shapes another tool that will one day help someone tend a field, repair a cart, or build a home. Even from this distance, the rhythm feels reassuring. It reminds the farmer that every person in the village has work that supports the others. The blacksmith shapes iron. The miller grinds grain. The baker makes bread. The shepherd watches the sheep. The carpenter repairs doors and roofs. No one stands entirely alone. Each family depends, in some quiet way, upon the hands of many others. The farmer straightens slowly. He looks across the fields. The wind moves gently through the young wheat, creating soft waves that travel across the land. The sight never grows old. It is different every day. Sometimes the waves are small. Sometimes they stretch across the entire field. Today they move slowly, almost lazily, beneath the bright spring sun. He takes a long, quiet breath. The scent of growing things fills the air. Fresh earth. Young leaves. Flowering trees. Warm grass. It is the smell of another season unfolding exactly as it should. And beneath that wide blue sky, Surrounded by the peaceful rhythm of the countryside, the family returns once more to their gentle work, letting the steady hours of the morning pass as quietly as the drifting clouds above. The morning continues without hurry. The sun climbs a little higher, though it seems to do so almost unnoticed. The light grows warmer across the fields, and the last traces of dew disappear from the grass. A gentle breeze continues to drift through the countryside, carrying with it the soft scent of wildflowers, fresh earth, and young leaves. The farmer bends over the vegetable garden once again. His hands move carefully among the rows. He loosens the soil around the carrots with the edge of his small hand hoe. The earth crumbles easily after the recent rain. Dark and rich, it slips gently between his fingers before settling back around the roots. Healthy soil has its own quiet beauty. It is not something that most travelers would stop to admire. Yet to a farmer, it is one of the most comforting sights in the world. Rich soil promises healthy plants. Healthy plants promise food. Food promises another season of life. His daughter kneels nearby, gathering small weeds into a woven basket. She works patiently, pulling each one from the ground with its roots intact. If even a small piece remains beneath the soil, the weed may grow again. She has learned that lesson through experience. The farmer notices her careful work. He does not interrupt. There is no need. Sometimes the greatest sign of learning is silence. The youngest boy has wandered only a few steps away. He crouches beside a smooth gray stone that rests near the edge of the garden. Something has caught his attention. A tiny snail is slowly making its way across the cool surface. Its shell is beautifully shaped, winding into a perfect spiral. The little boy watches with complete fascination. The snail moves so slowly that it almost seems still. He reaches out one finger but stops before touching it. His father once told him that small creatures should be treated gently. Some help the garden. Some do not. But all have their place in the world. So he simply watches. After a few moments, the snail disappears beneath a broad cabbage leaf. The boy smiles quietly and returns to his family. Not every discovery needs to be shared. Some are meant simply to be enjoyed. Far beyond the garden, the village blacksmith continues his work. The steady ring of hammer against iron drifts across the fields. Clang. A brief pause. Clang. Each sound is softened by distance until it blends with the songs of birds and the whisper of the wind. The farmer imagines the blacksmith shaping a new horseshoe or repairing the blade of a plow. Iron is precious. A broken tool cannot simply be replaced. It must be mended with care. Good tools often serve several generations. The farmer still uses a pruning knife that once belonged to his own father. The wooden handle has darkened with age. Its blade has grown slightly narrower after years of sharpening. Yet it cuts as cleanly as ever. Some things improve with time. As the morning advances, the village begins to grow a little busier. A cart rolls slowly along the distant road. 2 oxen pull it with steady, patient steps. The wheels leave deep tracks in the soft earth. The driver hums a quiet tune as he guides the animals toward the mill. Several sacks of barley are stacked neatly in the back of the cart. Soon they will become flour. Then bread. Every harvest begins a long journey before it reaches the table. The farmer pauses to stretch his back. His muscles feel pleasantly tired. He looks toward the orchard behind a neighboring cottage. Apple trees stand in long, neat rows. The blossoms have begun to fall, covering the grass beneath them with soft white petals. From a distance, it almost looks as though a gentle snowfall has settled across the ground. A young girl walks slowly between the trees. She carries a small basket filled with fallen branches. These will dry in the sun and later become kindling for the hearth. Even broken twigs have value. Nothing useful is left behind. The breeze changes direction. Now it carries the scent of baking bread from the village. Someone has just placed fresh loaves into a clay oven. The warm aroma spreads across the fields. The farmer smiles. Fresh bread has a way of making almost anyone feel at home. His stomach reminds him that many hours have passed since breakfast. Still, there is time before the midday meal. The work continues. Nearby, a line of ants marches steadily across the path. Each tiny insect carries something many times its own size. A crumb. A seed. A fragment of leaf. They never seem to stop. The youngest child kneels once again to watch them. He wonders where they are going. The farmer notices his curiosity. "When you are small," he says softly, "the world beneath your feet can be just as wide as the world beyond the hills." The little boy looks at the ants with even greater interest. He follows them with his eyes until they disappear into a tiny opening beneath the roots of a bush. His father returns to his work. He had not planned to offer wisdom. The words had simply arrived. Perhaps they had once been spoken to him by his own father. That is often how old lessons continue to live. Not through books. Not through careful speeches. But through ordinary conversations beneath the open sky. The sun now stands high enough to warm the back of his neck. He removes his straw hat for a moment and wipes his forehead with his sleeve. A swallow swoops low over the garden. Then another follows. Their quick flight keeps the number of insects small. The farmer has always welcomed swallows. Many villagers believe they bring good fortune. Whether or not that is true, they certainly bring graceful beauty to the sky. His daughter finishes filling her basket with weeds. She carries it toward the compost pile beside the garden. There, old leaves, vegetable scraps, and worn straw slowly return to the earth. Nothing is wasted. Even what seems useless today may help nourish tomorrow's harvest. The cycle never truly ends. The earth gives. The people care for it. Then the earth gives once more. Clouds drift across the sun. For a few moments, the entire garden rests beneath cool shade. The leaves seem to brighten. Birdsong grows louder. The farmer closes his eyes briefly and listens. He hears the rustling of bean vines. The distant murmur of the stream. The creaking of a wagon somewhere beyond a hill. The gentle hum of bees moving from flower to flower. Each sound belongs exactly where it is. None tries to rise above the others. Together they create the quiet music of the countryside. When the clouds pass, sunlight returns. The warmth settles gently upon the garden once again. The farmer looks across his family's work. The weeds have been cleared. The fence stands straight. The vegetables appear healthy. It is not a perfect garden. A few leaves bear tiny holes. One cabbage has grown smaller than the others. A corner of the path remains muddy after the rain. But perfection has never been the goal. Care has. Patience has. Faith that steady work, repeated day after day, will slowly bear fruit. He nods quietly to himself. For this morning, the garden has asked no more than they could give. And with calm hearts and willing hands, the family continues their peaceful labor beneath the warm spring sun, while the slow rhythm of medieval life carries them gently toward another quiet afternoon. The sun continues its gentle climb until it stands almost directly above the fields. The shadows beneath the trees grow shorter. The air becomes warmer, though a soft breeze still wanders through the countryside, keeping the day comfortable. It carries the scent of fresh grass that has begun to dry beneath the morning sun, mixed with the sweet fragrance of blooming clover scattered across the meadows. The farmer sets down his hoe for a moment. He straightens slowly and looks across the land. From where he stands, the village appears peaceful and unchanging. The cottages rest quietly among gardens and orchards. Thin ribbons of smoke rise from a few chimneys where meals are already being prepared. The little church, built from weathered stone, watches over everything from its gentle hill. Nothing seems hurried. Even the clouds drift with patient purpose. His son walks toward the small stream that borders one edge of the field. He carries 2 empty wooden buckets balanced carefully on a wooden yoke across his shoulders. The buckets sway gently with each step, tapping softly against his legs. The stream is clear enough to see every smooth stone resting beneath the water. Tiny fish dart through the shadows cast by overhanging branches. Dragonflies hover above the surface, their delicate wings flashing blue and green whenever they catch the sunlight. The young man kneels beside the bank. He lowers one bucket carefully into the water. A soft splash breaks the silence. Tiny circles spread outward across the surface before slowly fading away. He fills both buckets and pauses for a moment. The water is cool. He cups a little in his hands and drinks. It tastes fresh, carrying the quiet sweetness of springs hidden deep within the hills. He looks downstream. The water disappears around a bend where willow trees lean gracefully over the bank. Beyond them, the stream continues its slow journey through forests, meadows, and villages that he has never seen. For a brief moment, he wonders where it finally ends. Perhaps one day he will know. Perhaps he never will. The thought does not trouble him. Not every mystery asks to be solved. Back in the garden, the farmer's daughter gathers a handful of fresh herbs. Parsley. Chives. A little thyme. She places them gently into her basket. Their fragrance rises into the warm air. Later, they will flavor the evening stew. Simple meals become richer with careful attention. Her mother has always believed that even ordinary food deserves quiet care. The farmer notices a small patch of earth near the beans where the soil has begun to crack beneath the growing warmth. He walks over with one of the buckets his son has just brought. Rather than pouring the water all at once, he tips the bucket slowly. A gentle stream flows around the roots. The dry earth darkens immediately. Tiny bubbles rise as the thirsty ground welcomes the moisture. Water is too valuable to waste through haste. Every drop is placed where it is needed most. Nearby, a butterfly lands on a flowering bean vine. Its wings close slowly. Then open again. Soft yellow, touched with tiny black markings. The farmer watches for only a moment before returning to his work. Beauty is always present in the countryside. It asks for nothing except quiet attention. Across the neighboring field, another family is working together. The father guides an ox pulling a simple wooden plow. The animal moves with patient strength. Its broad shoulders lean steadily into the harness. The freshly turned earth rolls gently aside in long dark lines. Behind the plow, 2 children follow with baskets, collecting stones that rise from the soil. Their mother walks a little farther back, scattering seed with slow, even movements. The farmer watches them for a moment. Each person has a task. None seems more important than the others. The work succeeds because every hand contributes. This is how most things are done in the village. Not alone, but together. A faint sound drifts across the fields. The church bell rings once. Then, after a long pause, it rings again. Its deep voice spreads gently through the valley. The farmer removes his hat for a brief moment. Many others do the same. Some whisper a short prayer. Others simply stand quietly until the final note fades into the warm air. Then the work begins again, as naturally as breathing. Above them, a pair of swallows circles the old church tower. They have built a nest beneath the roof where the stone meets the wood. Tiny beaks appear at the edge of the nest. The young birds are hungry. Their parents fly tirelessly, returning again and again with insects gathered from the fields. The farmer smiles. Even the birds spend their days caring for families. Nature often reflects the lives of those who watch it closely. The youngest child has found a smooth fallen branch beneath the hedge. To him, it becomes a walking stick. Then a fishing pole. Then a knight's wooden spear. His imagination quietly transforms the simplest object into many different things. The farmer remembers doing much the same when he was young. Children have always found adventure where adults see only ordinary wood. His wife arrives from the cottage carrying a woven basket covered with a clean linen cloth. The midday meal has come. She sets the basket beneath the broad shade of an old elm tree. The family gathers slowly around her. The meal is simple. Fresh bread baked earlier that morning. Soft cheese made from the cow's milk. A handful of boiled eggs. A few early radishes from the garden. Fresh herbs. And cool water from the stream. No feast could feel more welcome after a morning of honest work. The youngest boy bites into a radish and makes a funny face at its sharp taste. His older sister laughs softly. Even the farmer cannot hide a gentle smile. Small moments of laughter drift through the quiet afternoon like birds crossing the sky. They are brief. But they leave warmth behind. After eating, no one rises immediately. They rest beneath the elm. Its leaves whisper gently overhead. Sunlight filters through the branches in shifting patterns. One patch of light moves slowly across the grass as the breeze stirs the leaves. The farmer leans back against the trunk. Its bark feels rough against his shoulders. He closes his eyes not to sleep, but simply to listen. He hears bees among the clover. A distant sheep calling from the hillside. The steady murmur of the stream. The rustling of wheat moving in the wind. These sounds have filled his life since childhood. He cannot imagine the world without them. His father once rested beneath this same tree. His grandfather likely did as well. Perhaps long after he is gone, his own children will sit here during warm afternoons, sharing bread beneath the same branches. The tree will remember them all in its own quiet way. Its roots grow deeper with every passing year. Its branches spread a little wider. It asks for nothing except time. The farmer opens his eyes. The shadows have shifted. The afternoon waits patiently ahead. There are still many small tasks to complete before evening. He rises slowly, brushing a few blades of grass from his tunic. His family stands with him. The empty basket is folded. The water buckets are lifted once more. Without hurry, without complaint, and without wasting a single peaceful moment, they return to the gentle work that has shaped their lives for generations, while the warm spring sun watches silently from the wide blue sky above. The afternoon settles softly over the countryside. The warmth of the sun no longer feels fresh as it did in the morning. Instead, it wraps the fields in a gentle stillness. The breeze becomes lighter now, arriving only from time to stir the wheat or whisper through the leaves of the great elm tree. The farmer returns to the edge of his field. There is no single large task waiting for him. Instead, there are many small ones. He has learned over the years that a farm is cared for through hundreds of little moments rather than a few grand efforts. A loose stone here. A broken branch there. A weed pulled before it spreads. A fence repaired before it falls. These quiet acts, repeated every day, slowly become a healthy harvest. He kneels beside one of the bean rows. A few vines have grown longer than expected. They lean away from their wooden supports. Carefully, he lifts each vine with both hands. He wraps it gently around a slender stake, guiding it upward instead of letting it trail across the ground. The plant bends easily. It seems almost grateful for the help. His daughter watches closely. Plants, her father says softly, often need a little guidance, just as children do. She smiles. She understands what he means. Not every lesson is spoken directly. Sometimes wisdom hides inside ordinary work. Nearby, the youngest boy has gathered a small pile of smooth stones from the path. He arranges them into a neat little circle. Then another beside it. Soon he has built a tiny village of his own. Each stone becomes a cottage. A twig becomes the church. A small leaf becomes the village green. He sits quietly, adding tiny details that only he can see. The farmer glances toward him. He remembers building little villages in the dirt when he was no older than his son. Children often imitate the world around them without even realizing it. Across the field, an elderly neighbor walks slowly along the narrow footpath. He carries a walking stick made from polished ash wood. Its handle has become smooth after many years in his hand. His back bends a little more than it once did. His steps are slower now. But his eyes still notice everything. He stops beside the farmer. The two men greet each other warmly. For a few moments, they simply stand together looking over the fields. It has been a kind spring, the older man says. The farmer nods. It has. After another quiet pause, the old man smiles. I remember a spring many years ago when the rain never seemed to stop. The farmer has heard this story before. Perhaps several times. Yet he listens with the same patience. Old memories deserve a place. They say the wheat stood under water for nearly a week, the old man continues. We thought we would lose everything. He looks toward the bright green field before them. But the land surprised us. The farmer follows his gaze. The earth has always held mysteries. Sometimes it gives more than expected. Sometimes less. The old man taps his walking stick gently against the ground. That is why we never stop hoping. With those quiet words, he continues down the path. His slow footsteps fade into the afternoon. The farmer watches until he disappears behind a hedge. He thinks about the many seasons that older man has witnessed. How many harvests? How many winters? How many springs just like this one? The land remembers every generation. Yet each generation sees it with new eyes. The work continues. The farmer moves toward a small apple tree growing beside the garden. It is still young. Its trunk is no thicker than his wrist. A few branches have begun growing in awkward directions. He removes his small pruning knife. Its blade catches the sunlight for just a moment. Carefully, he trims only what is necessary. Not too much. Not too little. Every cut is made with thought. The tree will not understand today. But in years to come, it will grow stronger because of these small decisions. His son gathers the fallen branches. They are too green to burn now. They will be left to dry through the summer. Even a handful of branches has value. Nothing is forgotten. The afternoon grows quieter. Many birds have settled into the shade. Only the occasional call of a blackbird echoes across the fields. Far away, sheep graze peacefully on a hillside. Their shepherd sits beneath a tree, carving a new handle for his crook with a small knife. His dog lies nearby, ears alert even while resting. Every creature seems content with the gentle pace of the day. The farmer hears the familiar buzzing of bees. He walks toward the far corner of the garden where several wooden beehives stand beneath flowering trees. The bees move busily in and out of the narrow openings. Each one seems to know exactly where it belongs. The air hums softly around them. The farmer never disturbs them without reason. Today he simply watches. He has always admired their quiet industry. No bee appears idle. No bee seems confused. Together they build something remarkable. A little honey. A little wax. A little sweetness added to the life of the village. His daughter stands beside him. They never stop working, she whispers. The farmer smiles. No, he says. But even they return home before night. She watches the bees disappear into the hive. Perhaps she imagines the tiny world inside. Dark passages filled with gentle humming. Perfect rows of golden honeycomb. A home hidden behind simple wooden walls. Clouds drift slowly across the sky again. Their shadows move across the wheat like great ships sailing over a quiet sea. The farmer lifts his face toward them. They are white and high. Fair weather clouds. There will be no rain today. That is good. The hay drying in the meadow needs another full afternoon of sunshine. From the direction of the village comes the distant laughter of children. Perhaps lessons have ended at the church. Perhaps chores have been finished early. The sound rises and falls before fading once again into the peaceful stillness. The farmer's wife appears carrying a small clay jug. Fresh water. She pours a little into each wooden cup. The cool drink feels refreshing after the warm afternoon. No one speaks very much. Words are not always necessary. The family has grown comfortable with silence. Not an empty silence. A peaceful one. The kind shared by people who know one another well. The sun has begun its slow journey toward the western hills. Its light is softer now. Long shadows stretch across the paths between the fields. The golden color of late afternoon slowly returns. The farmer looks across the land once more. There is still enough daylight for another hour or two of gentle work. No more. The fields seem almost to sigh beneath the warm breeze. The trees whisper quietly. The stream continues its endless song. And with steady hands, patient hearts, and the calm rhythm that has guided countless generations before them, the farmer and his family continue caring for their little corner of the medieval world, one small task at a time. The afternoon slowly begins to soften into the quiet hours before evening. The bright light of midday has become warmer now, spreading across the fields like a gentle golden blanket. Long shadows stretch from the trees, reaching farther across the grass with every passing moment. The farmer wipes his hands on his wool tunic and looks toward the western sky. There is still time before the sun slips behind the distant hills. Enough time for one more task. He walks toward a small meadow beyond the grain field where the family's hay has been drying beneath the spring sunshine. The meadow lies beside the stream. Its grass grows thick and green, sprinkled with tiny wildflowers in shades of white, yellow, and pale blue. Buttercups sway gently in the breeze. Clover blossoms fill the air with a sweet, gentle scent. Bees continue their patient work, drifting from flower to flower without ever seeming hurried. The farmer bends down and gathers a handful of drying hay. He lifts it to his face. It smells warm and sweet, carrying the scent of sunshine itself. He rubs a few strands between his fingers. Almost ready. Perhaps one more clear day will dry it perfectly. Good hay is one of winter's quiet treasures. When snow covers the fields and fresh grass can no longer be found, the animals will depend upon these carefully gathered bundles. The farmer never forgets that today's work often feeds tomorrow's needs. His son joins him carrying a wooden rake. Together they gently turn the drying grass. The movement is slow and careful. Each long sweep allows the lower layers to catch the afternoon sun. The dry grass whispers softly as it rolls over. The sound blends with the gentle breeze until it becomes part of the countryside itself. Nearby, the youngest boy has wandered to the edge of the stream. He kneels beside the water and watches tiny fish swimming between smooth stones. They move so quickly that they seem almost like flashes of silver. He smiles every time one disappears beneath a shadow before darting back into the sunlight. A dragonfly lands on a reed nearby. Its wings shimmer with shades of blue and green. For several quiet moments, neither the boy nor the dragonfly moves. The afternoon seems perfectly content to remain still. His sister gathers a few smooth stones from the water's edge. She chooses only the flattest ones. Carefully, she skips one across the surface. It touches the water once, twice, 3 times. Then quietly disappears beneath the stream. She laughs softly. Her younger brother tries the same. His stone falls with a single splash. He laughs even harder. Their father looks over and smiles. Not every lesson must involve work. Sometimes simple joy is enough. The stream continues its endless journey. Its water has flowed past these meadows long before the village was built. It will continue flowing long after today's footprints have disappeared from the earth. The farmer often finds comfort in that thought. Some things belong to every generation. The stream, the wind, the changing seasons, the rising and setting sun. These quiet companions remain faithful through every passing year. A gentle breeze moves through the meadow. The tall grasses bow together before standing once more. The movement reminds the farmer of waves upon a quiet sea, though he has never seen the ocean himself. Travelers sometimes speak of it. A place where water stretches farther than the eye can see. He listens politely to such stories. Yet in his heart, these familiar fields are more than enough. He has everything he truly needs. The meadow, the stream, his family, the village, the seasons. These are the boundaries of his world, and within them he has found a peaceful life. Far across the hillside, several sheep continue grazing beneath the careful eye of their shepherd. Their thick wool shines softly beneath the afternoon light. Every so often one lifts its head, chewing slowly while watching the distant fields. The shepherd remains seated beneath a broad ash tree. His faithful dog rests nearby, though one ear remains alert to every sound. Even while resting, both understand their responsibilities. The farmer finishes turning the last section of hay. He leans upon the rake for a moment and takes a long breath. The air is wonderfully fresh. It carries the scent of drying grass, wild mint growing beside the stream, and pine trees standing beyond the distant forest. The fragrance changes with every season. Spring smells of blossoms and rain. Summer brings warm earth and fresh grain. Autumn carries apples, smoke, and fallen leaves. Winter smells of frost and burning oak. A farmer comes to know each season by its scent long before the calendar changes. His wife arrives carrying a small basket. Inside are several pieces of fresh bread left from the morning. A little cheese. and a handful of early cherries gathered from a nearby tree. Their deep red skins shine in the sunlight. The family sits together beneath a willow tree whose long branches sway gently above them. No one speaks at first. There is no need. The quiet itself feels welcoming. The youngest boy bites into a cherry. Its sweet juice runs down his fingers. His sister laughs softly and hands him a cloth. The farmer watches his children. He notices how much they have grown since last spring. The boy's boots are already becoming too small. His daughter's hands have grown stronger from helping in the garden. Time moves quietly. Often so quietly that change is noticed only when looking back. The willow branches dance gently above them. Tiny leaves shimmer whenever sunlight slips between them. The stream reflects both tree and sky together, making it difficult to tell where one ends and the other begins. The farmer closes his eyes for just a moment. He listens. Water flowing over smooth stones. Bees humming among the clover. Birds calling from the hedgerows. His children laughing softly nearby. These sounds weave together into something more comforting than silence. They are the sounds of an ordinary day. And ordinary days, he has learned, often become the most treasured memories. After their small meal, everyone rises once again. The basket is emptied. No crumbs are left behind. Even the smallest pieces are saved for the chickens waiting back at the cottage. The farmer gathers his rake. His son lifts another bundle of drying hay onto his shoulder. The children walk ahead along the narrow path beside the stream. Their shadows stretch long across the grass. The afternoon is gently giving way to evening. The sunlight has become rich and golden. The countryside glows with a quiet warmth that seems to settle into every tree, every field, and every stone. The farmer looks across the peaceful landscape one more time before beginning the slow walk home. The meadow has been cared for. The hay has dried a little more. The stream continues singing beside its grassy banks. And another simple day, filled with patient work and quiet happiness, moves gently toward the calm embrace of evening. The path home feels even quieter in the golden light of late afternoon. The farmer walks slowly, the wooden rake resting across his shoulder. Beside him, his son carries a small bundle of dried hay tied neatly with a length of twisted hemp rope. The children walk a little ahead, stopping every now and then to admire something that catches their attention. The village seems different at this hour. Nothing has truly changed. The cottages stand where they always have. The old oak still spreads its great branches over the lane. The church bell remains silent for now. Yet the light of the lowering sun gives everything a gentle warmth, as though the entire countryside has been brushed with soft gold. Long shadows stretch across the path. The children enjoy stepping from one patch of sunlight into another, pretending the shadows are little streams that must be crossed. The farmer watches them with quiet amusement. He remembers playing games along this very road when he was their age. Some memories never seem to fade. Near the edge of the meadow, an elderly woman is gathering bundles of lavender. She kneels carefully, cutting each stem with a small knife before tying them together with thin strips of flax. The fragrance drifts through the air. Sweet. Fresh. Calming. She smiles as the family passes. "Good evening," she says softly. "And to you," the farmer replies. She lifts one small bundle of lavender. "For peaceful sleep." The farmer thanks her kindly. His daughter accepts the flowers with both hands, careful not to crush the delicate blossoms. Their scent follows the family as they continue toward the village. The little bundle will later hang from a wooden beam inside the cottage, slowly filling the room with its gentle fragrance. The road bends around a small pond. Its surface is almost perfectly still. Only an occasional ripple appears when a fish rises briefly before slipping beneath the water once again. Several ducks glide quietly across the pond. Their reflections move beside them like soft shadows. The youngest child kneels at the water's edge. He watches tiny circles spreading across the calm surface after an insect touches the water. He could remain there for hours. Children often discover entire worlds inside the smallest places. His father lets him watch for a little while. There is no need to hurry. The day is ending exactly as it should. A pair of frogs begins calling from the reeds. Their voices are low and steady. Soon another answers from farther across the pond. The sounds blend gently with the rustling grass and the distant singing of birds preparing for evening. Nature has its own quiet conversations. As the family resumes walking, they pass a small orchard belonging to one of their neighbors. The apple trees are heavy with young fruit, still small and green. The branches bend slightly beneath their weight. The farmer pauses beside one tree. He gently lifts a low branch. The apples are firm. Many weeks remain before harvest. Patience. Everything in the countryside asks for patience. Fruit cannot be hurried. Grain cannot be rushed. Even the seasons themselves move only at their own gentle pace. A familiar sound reaches them from the village. The blacksmith has finished his day's work. His hammer no longer rings against the anvil. Instead, the soft creak of the forge door closing drifts through the evening air. The village is beginning to settle. Smoke rises from more chimneys now. The scent of cooking fills the lane. Someone is baking oat bread. Another family has begun a stew flavored with onions and leeks. Farther away comes the rich smell of roasting turnips. The farmer breathes deeply. Every cottage has its own familiar scent. Every hearth tells a quiet story about the family gathered around it. The children begin greeting neighbors as they pass. An old shepherd sits outside his cottage repairing a leather strap. He smiles warmly. A woman spins wool beside her doorway, her spinning wheel turning with a soft, steady rhythm. Two brothers repair the wheel of a cart beneath the shade of an ash tree. They pause only long enough to wave before returning to their careful work. No one seems rushed. The evening allows space for conversation. For smiles. For simple kindness. The farmer reaches his own cottage. Before entering, he carries the bundle of hay into the small shelter beside the animal pen. The cow lifts its head as he approaches. It lets out a quiet, gentle low. He places fresh hay before it. The animal begins eating slowly, contentedly. Nearby, the goats nibble at fresh leaves gathered earlier that afternoon. The chickens scratch happily through the yard, searching for tiny insects hidden beneath the straw. The barn cat stretches lazily in a patch of warm sunlight that still reaches one corner of the yard. It blinks slowly at the farmer before curling back into a comfortable circle. Life moves gently here. Each creature follows its own familiar rhythm. Inside the cottage, his wife has already lit the evening fire. The flames dance quietly beneath the iron cooking pot. She stirs the stew with a long wooden spoon. Steam rises in slow curls toward the ceiling beams. The scent is comforting. Barley. Cabbage. Leeks. A little thyme gathered fresh from the garden that morning. The lavender is hung carefully above the hearth. Its pale purple blossoms sway gently whenever warm air rises from the fire. Already the room carries its delicate fragrance. The children wash their hands in a wooden basin near the door. The cool water feels refreshing after the warmth of the afternoon. His daughter carefully places the remaining cherries into a small clay bowl. They will be shared after supper. The youngest boy proudly tells his mother about the dragonfly he watched beside the stream. He spreads his arms wide, trying to show how its wings sparkled in the sunlight. His mother listens with patient attention. To a child, such discoveries are every bit as important as the work of the fields. The farmer sits quietly near the fire. His boots rest beside the door. His shoulders feel pleasantly tired. Not exhausted. Simply satisfied. There is a difference. Work done with steady purpose often leaves behind a peaceful kind of weariness. Outside, the sunlight continues fading. The sky changes from bright blue to gentle shades of amber, rose, and pale violet. The first evening birds begin their songs. Soon the church bell will ring once more, marking the close of another ordinary day. The farmer looks around the cottage. The wooden table. The clay bowls. The rough stone hearth. The herbs hanging from the beams. The quiet faces of his family. None of these things are grand. None would impress a king. Yet together they form something more valuable than riches. They form a home. And as the soft glow of evening settles over the little medieval village, the farmer quietly gives thanks not with many words, but with a grateful heart for another simple day lived beneath the wide and patient sky. The evening settles gently around the little cottage. Outside, the last golden rays of sunlight slip quietly behind the distant hills. The fields, which only a short while ago shimmered with warm light, now begin to soften into shades of green, gray, and deep blue. The day does not end suddenly. It fades with the same calm patience that has carried every hour before it. Inside, the fire glows warmly. The flames dance beneath the black iron pot hanging over the hearth. Every now and then, a small piece of oak settles deeper into the fire with a quiet crackle. Tiny sparks rise for a brief moment before disappearing into the dim space above. The room feels peaceful. The scent of the stew has filled every corner of the cottage. Barley has slowly thickened the broth throughout the afternoon. The cabbage has become soft. The onions have almost melted into the rich, warm mixture, while the thyme and parsley gathered from the garden add a gentle fragrance that reminds everyone of the fields outside. The farmer's wife lifts the heavy pot with practiced hands. She fills each wooden bowl carefully. No one receives more than they need. No one receives less. The portions are simple, but they are enough. The family gathers around the sturdy wooden table. The table itself has served them for many years. Its surface carries countless small marks left by knives, bowls, and busy hands. Near one corner is a tiny scratch where the oldest son, as a very small boy, once tried to carve the shape of a bird with a dull pocket knife. The mark remains there still. His mother had smiled when she first noticed it. She never asked him to remove it. Some small imperfections become treasured memories. Before anyone begins to eat, the farmer bows his head. The others do the same. His prayer is quiet. He gives thanks for the harvest that is still growing. For the rain that arrived when it was needed. For the strength to work another day. For the warmth of home. For the family gathered beside him. When the prayer is finished, no one speaks for a few moments. Only the gentle sound of wooden spoons touching the bowls fills the room. The stew is warm and comforting. The barley has absorbed the flavors of the vegetables. Fresh bread is torn into pieces and dipped into the broth. The youngest child smiles after the very first bite. He has spent the entire afternoon running beside the stream and helping in small ways. Everything tastes especially good after a day spent outdoors. As they eat, conversation begins quietly. The daughter tells her mother that one of the apple trees seems to have more blossoms than last spring. The oldest son mentions the fence near the bean patch, pleased that it now stands straight again. The youngest boy eagerly describes the frog he saw beside the pond. It was this big, he says, stretching his hands far apart. His sister laughs softly. I think it may have been a little smaller. The boy looks thoughtful. Perhaps. The farmer smiles into his bowl. Stories often grow just a little with each telling. Outside, the village grows quieter. The chickens have settled onto their wooden roosts. The goats lie comfortably on fresh straw. From the nearby pasture comes the gentle sound of cows chewing slowly in the fading light. The birds that sang so brightly in the morning now offer softer evening songs before finding places to rest for the night. A cool breeze slips through the small open window. It carries the scent of damp earth as the warmth of the day slowly begins to fade. The bundle of lavender hanging above the hearth sways gently. Its delicate fragrance mixes with the smell of wood smoke. Together they fill the cottage with a peaceful comfort that feels both familiar and welcoming. When the meal is finished, nothing is wasted. The last spoonful of stew is carefully eaten. The smallest pieces of bread are saved. The bowls are wiped clean before being washed. His wife pours warm water into a wooden basin. The children help clean the bowls one by one. The oldest daughter dries each one with a linen cloth before placing it neatly upon the shelf. Every object has its place. Order makes daily life easier. After the table has been cleared, the farmer reaches for a small wooden stool near the fire. He sits down with a contented sigh. His knees feel a little stiff after the day's work. His shoulders carry the pleasant heaviness that comes after honest labor. He stretches his fingers slowly. The joints crack softly. His hands have shaped fences, carried hay, planted seeds, and lifted stones. Tomorrow they will do it all again. The youngest boy curls up near the hearth. The warmth of the fire makes his eyelids heavy. His mother begins quietly spinning wool. The spinning wheel turns with a slow, steady rhythm. Its gentle humming blends with the crackling fire. Round and round the wheel turns. The soft wool twists into strong thread. This work requires patience, not speed. Thread made too quickly becomes weak. Everything worthwhile asks for careful hands. The farmer watches the wheel for a while. Its quiet rhythm has comforted him since childhood. His own mother once sat beside another hearth, turning another spinning wheel in much the same way. Some sounds never disappear from memory. The oldest son sharpens a small knife with a smooth whetstone. Slow strokes. Even pressure. He has learned never to rush such work. A dull blade is difficult to use. A blade sharpened carelessly may chip or crack. His father watches with quiet approval. Learning often happens in silence. Outside, the sky deepens into a rich blue. The first bright stars appear above the rooftops. One by one, tiny lights awaken across the heavens. The farmer steps outside for a few moments. The cool evening air greets him gently. He stands in the yard beside the old wooden fence. The fields are growing darker now. Only the pale ribbon of the stream still catches enough light to shine faintly beneath the sky. Somewhere beyond the meadow, an owl calls. Its voice echoes softly through the gathering darkness. Far away, another owl answers. The sounds drift across the countryside before fading into silence once again. The farmer looks upward. The stars seem endless. His father once told him that every traveler could find his way home if he learned to read the night sky. The farmer has never traveled far. Still, he enjoys looking upward. The stars remind him that his little village is only one tiny part of a much larger world. Yet he feels no desire to leave. Everything he loves is here. The fields, the stream, the church, the old oak, the cottage glowing warmly behind him, and the family waiting inside. A soft wind stirs the wheat beyond the village. Even in darkness, the fields continue their quiet conversation with the breeze. Tomorrow morning, they will greet the rising sun once again. The farmer takes one final deep breath of the cool evening air before turning toward the warmly lit doorway. Inside, the fire still glows. The spinning wheel continues its gentle song. The children are beginning to yawn. Another peaceful medieval day is slowly giving itself to the quiet embrace of night, and the little cottage rests calmly beneath the first stars of another tranquil evening. The spinning wheel slows. Its gentle hum becomes softer with every turn until, at last, it comes to a quiet stop. The fire has settled into glowing embers once more. Their warm light flickers across the timber walls, painting slow-moving shadows that seem almost alive. The cottage grows still. One by one, the children drift into sleep. The youngest boy curls beneath his wool blanket, still dreaming of dragonflies, smooth stones, and the little stream that wandered through the meadow. His sister closes her eyes with the faint scent of lavender floating gently through the room. The oldest son lies quietly, already resting for another day that will begin before sunrise. The farmer's wife places another small piece of wood onto the glowing coals. Not enough to keep the fire burning brightly all night. Just enough to protect the warmth until morning. She looks around the cottage one final time. The bowls have been cleaned. The tools have been put away. Tomorrow's water waits beside the door. Everything is ready. The farmer sits for a few peaceful moments beside the hearth. His hands rest quietly upon his knees. They are older now than they once were. The lines are deeper. The scars are more numerous. Yet they remain strong enough to plant another seed, mend another fence, lift another child, and greet another sunrise. He does not think about greatness. He does not dream of riches. His life has been measured in harvests rather than victories. In seasons rather than celebrations. In ordinary days that, together, have quietly become an extraordinary life. Outside, the village has fallen asleep. The church bell is silent. The blacksmith's forge has long since cooled. The mill wheel beside the stream no longer turns. Only the wind moves gently across the fields, carrying with it the sweet scent of hay and the cool breath of the coming night. Above the little village, the stars shine with the same patient light they offered to those who lived here long before this family, and to those who will one day follow. The old oak stands faithfully beside the road. The stream continues its endless journey through meadow and forest. The wheat sways softly beneath the moonlight. The seasons wait patiently for one another, just as they always have. Spring will become summer. Summer will gently fade into autumn. Autumn will welcome the quiet stillness of winter. And when winter finally loosens its gentle hold, spring will return once more with fresh birdsong, new blossoms, and another promise of green fields. Children will grow into parents. Parents will become grandparents. New hands will hold the same wooden tools. New feet will follow the same narrow paths. New voices will whisper evening prayers beneath the same familiar roof. The land will remember them all. Not through written words. Not through grand monuments. But through footprints pressed into soft earth, fields lovingly tended, trees carefully planted, and homes filled with quiet kindness. The farmer closes his eyes. He listens one last time. The slow crackle of the fire. The peaceful breathing of his family. The faint whisper of the wind brushing against the straw roof. There is nothing more to do today. Nothing left unfinished that cannot wait for tomorrow. The world outside continues its calm and timeless rhythm. Inside the little cottage, warmth, love, and simple contentment settle gently over every corner. The embers grow dimmer. The shadows grow softer. The moon climbs a little higher. The night becomes deeper and quieter still. And somewhere beyond sleep, another gentle dawn is already making its slow journey toward the horizon. But that morning belongs to another story. For now, the fields rest. The village rests. The old oak rests. The stream quietly sings beneath the stars. And the medieval farmer, wrapped in the peaceful silence of home, drifts into a calm and dreamless sleep, while the endless rhythm of the countryside continues, gentle and unhurried, beneath the vast and watchful sky.